Chicago was the center of the candy industry for the United States for over 100 years.
Not just the center of candy making in the U.S., but the candy capital of the world.
Wrigley gum, M&M Mars, Brach's Tootsie Roll, Butterfinger, and Baby Ruth. Countless major brands.
In addition to the large companies, you had all of these small entrepreneurial businesses like Lanzi's.
This is Guy Lombardo, introducing the tastiest candy I've ever eaten, Lanzi's Cashew Nut and Rice Crunch. Elmo Lanzi created this candy masterpiece that keeps you coming back for more.
Lanzi Candy should have become a very large, very successful company. It never achieved the success it should have.
Here was a product that was long gone, but still had advocates on the internet.
It was quite amazing to me. 30 years later, and people still looking for the candy.
It was so good and so memorable. I thought it was well worth trying to bring the candy back.
There was no equipment available. There was no samples available. My first comment to Jerry was, you don't want to do it.
It made sense to reach out to Lanzi family members to try to find the recipe.
I get this phone call. The man said he was interested in the Lanzi Candy Company.
He was so taken with the Cashew Nut Crunch, he was going to remake the candy.
I was just elated.
My younger brother, Robert, produced a test batch.
Robert Lanzi, who grew up in the candy shop, he got me closer than we had ever been.
His was the best, because I made them.
So how difficult is it going to be to replicate this look? Because this is the delicate look that we're after.
We can try a couple more experiments for you too. It's a very old product that we're trying to reverse engineer. It's really the combination both being a detective and a scientist. We started making a couple prototypes based on some real good insight from Elmo's son, Robert Lanzi.
This is Bob's original sample.
Okay. His pieces are a little more dense than ours are.
Well, maybe a little bit.
I'm not saying it's good or bad, I'm just saying there's a difference.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, getting away from the original recipe, that takes away from the melt in your mouth.
I think Bob's always wanted to resurrect Lanzi's, but he's got to be prepared to say, this is not going to be exactly the same as what Dad did.
One day, they were resurfacing the street, and I saw how nice they laid out that tar. So I got an idea of making a machine that will do the same thing.
The story of Elmo Lanzi is the quintessential American story, the American dream. A shepherd boy in the hills decides to come to America and later making a life for himself.
Elmo Galileo Lanzi was born to make candy. He thought things through to a degree that most candy makers don't go.
He had the mechanical knowledge to design all of his own machines. He had the innate knowledge to put these flavors together.
He invented the Cashew Crunch at age 65 and continued working full-time until his 80s.
Candy, candy, candy man.
We were very surprised when Dad decided to sell the business. We thought sure Bob would just step right in and take over.
I believe that that was his father's goal for him. Keep it in the family, Italian tradition. What happened in the interim, I don't know.
Memories of 30 and 40 years are kind of hard to just catch and say, here it is. You pick up little tidbits here and there, and you put all those pieces together to form a whole.
Stunt crews blasted the old Brach's candy factory at Lake and Cicero.
The candy industry in Chicago used to have over 20,000 employees. We're down to less than 5,000. E.J. Brach, for instance, the largest candy factory in the world, employing 3,500 to 4,000 people. Its heyday is gone, it's not expanding, it's contracting.
When the industry was doing quite well, it was owned and run by entrepreneurs. Family-run, matriarchal type of systems. It's very difficult to survive or exist in the environment of these large multinational conglomerates.
I think that for many people, the idea of going into the candy business is kind of a dream because it ties you somehow back to your childhood and where you came from. People go into it because it bonded them with their family, and they hope that they can continue that family recipe and grow it to the next generation.
I knew going into this that I would be a small fish in a very large pond. I didn't realize quite how small. We're 3 years into this now. How much progress have we made? We're talking about at least $250,000 to bring this to market. How much am I prepared to invest? How do we get to the finish line? Where is the finish line?
When you really look at candy and you see how it's made, you look at it and say, wow, this is so simple, but it's always easier on the outside looking in.
The machine that Elmo built is lost forever. So the question is whether anyone can come up with a whole different manufacturing process to recreate this. You're Elmo's grandson. You've grown up with the candy. Would you bet the farm or not?
I'll taste this and see.
Your money now, your dollars. It's always a question of what's going to run out first, the will or the money.